I talked about this, and I'm going to try to do this as quickly as I can, because I don't know when my mom, my nephew are going to be back to church. But you know, 20 years ago, I talked about this with gargoyles, and I talk about this a little bit with Aladdin. But 20 years ago, uh, Aladdin the series debuted on television, and the big thing about Aladdin the series was, of course, it was based off the movie by Disney, based on Disney's Aladdin movie. And not only was it based off Aladdin, off the Aladdin movie and all that, um, you know, so basically in '94, Disney decided to do what they did with The Little Mermaid a few years before that, and that's make a series. Now the difference though between the Little Mermaid series and the Aladdin series was Little Mermaid was exclusively on CBS Saturday mornings. And of course Aladdin, when that show debuted, it ended up on Saturday mornings too, but the difference was it was also a Disney afternoon show. And by being a Disney afternoon show, gave, kids, fans of animation, fans of Aladdin, 6 different opportunities to watch it. There was also another reason. See, the other reason was the fact that the difference between Disney afternoon and Saturdays was just like when Disney did this with Darkwing Duck and Goof Troop being on Disney afternoon as well as on ABC, and they did the same thing with Mighty Ducks, as well as Gummy Bears. And that was like during the last year, Gummy Bears would be on Saturday mornings, I believe. Well, one of the last years. You had Saturday morning exclusive episodes of Aladdin aired on CBS. Well, you had other episodes that were just meant for the Disney afternoon. That were made for the Disney afternoon, I should say. But like I said, you had your Saturday morning exclusive episodes of Aladdin. And that's what made Aladdin good, because like I said, you get to see it 6 days a week. And you can kind of tell, no offense to the Disney afternoon episodes. No offense to the Disney afternoon episodes. But you could just tell there was a little bit more effort put into the Saturday morning ones. Like in a sense, Disney wanted these to stand out as being true Saturday morning cartoon episodes, or basically meant for Saturday mornings only. Now, like Aladdin and not like Aladdin, but like Goof Troop and Darkwing Duck and Mighty Ducks, sooner or later the episodes that were on Saturday mornings did end up on the Disney afternoon. And that was about a year or so after. But even after that, they still kept it going the following year with some Saturday morning exclusive episodes as well. And again, this is the same thing they did with Darkwing Duck and Goof Troop. And you always knew when it was a Saturday morning exclusive episode, you could not only tell that there was more effort put into the show, or put into it, animation-wise, but you could also tell by just the dynamic of the presentation, by the fact that these episodes didn't always take place in Agrabah, and that most of the time, they took place in other parts of the world. Sometimes they were a little darker, a little bit more serious at times. And the other major difference is that all the characters were involved. All the characters were together for this one episode. You could see that. And that's what made it really, really good. It made the show really good because you could see the difference. Now, Aladdin also, gave us a variety of colorful characters from heroes, allies, and villains. Hero-wise, you had Eden, which ended up being Genie's girlfriend. You had Sandra. You had that Viking guy and then later on his wife and the kid. You had all of them. You had Thundra, who became Iago's girlfriend, and just a peripheral of colorful characters. As far as allies and heroes went. You even had the Galifim. You had the Galifin queen that first started as a villain, become a hero ally and thus the girlfriend of the Sultan. So you had all that. And then you add in colorful villains like Abbas Maul, Mosenrath. That was the name I was trying to think of earlier, Mosenrath. You had Abbas Maul, Mosenrath. You had Mechanicles, Mirage. The list just goes on. And sometimes the villains were, one-time villains, and that was it. And then, like I said, you had the allies, and sometimes the allies were kind of villainous-like, but were also very, well, not just villainous-like, but were very colorful and gnome-like, but they were dark. Like you had that one river, that sand sailor, if you will. You had things like that. I mean, these were all very, very good characters. Just all around made the show better than what it was. And then, of course, like any Disney afternoon or Saturday morning Disney show before it, it also ended up getting its own miniseries as well. Which sort of was towards the end of the show, towards the end of the series run. You had Seems Like Old Crimes, which basically was a two-part story that told the origin of how Aladdin and Abu met. And it was just really, really good. I mean, the animation and quality was good. And then you had a follow-up episode to that, which was pretty good. So overall, just a decent show by Disney, and I don't think we could have asked for anything other than that from Disney. Now, the other thing about the show is it began and ended with 2 direct-to-video animated features, which you can now get on DVD. The first one was The Return of Jafar. This came out the same year the show came out, and thus served, because you could tell by the animation style, served as a pilot movie to the series. Then you had Aladdin and the King of Thieves, which served as a movie finale to the series. And just like the predecessor of the movie, the original movie classic itself, they were both musicals. Now, they had a lot of great story elements in here too. I mentioned earlier about the Galafin. I like the fact that, I think this was a Saturday morning exclusive episode. I'm not really sure. But I like the fact that you had Jasmine basically being chosen to be a Galafin warrior, just because of who she is. And that was pretty good. That was, I thought, decent because, here she is, not even thinking she's going to be a warrior. I mean, yeah, she's adventurous. And that was the one thing I liked about the show. It took someone like Jasmine and turned her not just from a damsel in distress princess, but into a butt-kicking, I don't really need somebody to rescue my butt because I can take care of myself princess, which everybody became a fan of, and she basically became a top fave princess in the eyes of everybody, including myself. So I liked that portion. I liked it. So that Galafin episode was great. It was like something that was something you didn't even expect as a fan watching. And then, of course, you had a lot of things take place there too. You had, you had transformations at times, which was really cool. I think it's a Disney Afternoon one. But you had Genie, he catches a cold. Basically, his magic goes out of control because of it. And one of the funniest scenes in that episode is you have Jasmine, basically, because of his sneezing, get turned into a variety of different things, from a carrot, a koala bear, a tree, the Mona Lisa, or the Mona Jasmine, if you will. It's really funny. I mean, things like that were really, really good. And then, like I said, the stories did vary from light, in between, and dark. And it really, just overall the story flowed. And you had follow-ups to the stories. You had follow-ups to different episodes. They weren't just, because they weren't they weren't like separate, like a mini-series. They were just follow-ups, like with Sandra's episode. You had not one, but 2 follow-up episodes on her, I believe. So that was good. Thundra, you had not 1 episode, you had 2 episodes on her. The Viking guy, whatever his name, had 1, but 2. So you had usually 2 or 3 follow-up episodes Yeah, usually one or two follow-up episodes to the original episode of a character's debut. So that was good. That was decent on Disney's part for this show. And it really kind of interweaved a lot between itself, the animated classic. It really connected itself a lot. It did a lot of references to the animated classic. It did a lot of connections to that. Had its connections to, of course, the pilot movie. It had its connections to the last movie. I mean, it just was overall good flow. It really was. And, of course, like I said, Aladdin and the King of Thieves, definitely the ending for it. But to really seal the deal and send it off on a great note, Disney knew how popular the show was, how popular the characters still were, how people wanted to see the show still in some ways. So what'd they do? A year or two after it ended, they did a crossover episode with our other series based on one of the animated classics, which was sort of like a midquel between its movie, well, a prequel to its movie, if you will, and that was Hercules. And it was the episode Hercules and the Arabian Night. And that put finality on the Aladdin series. Because you finally had them getting rid of Jafar because he made his comeback in this episode as well. So just overall, a legacy that I think, as far as any Disney animated show based on a movie, Aladdin definitely has that legacy that people still want to watch. They still want to watch an episode and enjoy it. I mean, I went and I got a sample. I think it was off iOffer or something. But somebody had a variety of Disney stuff and other non-Disney stuff. So I asked, hey, can you put these certain episodes on a disc for me? And they did it. And they put several Aladdin ones on there because I enjoyed Aladdin. It was actually one of the shows that when I got home from school, even though I was like a freshman in high school, I would watch because I liked it. I would get up on Saturday mornings and watch it. I would watch in 94, let's see. The routine was Sonic, I believe, Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know what was in between that. Sonic and something else was in between it. Then around 8 o'clock, 8:30 would be Aladdin. So, and I would go from ABC to that. So that was really good. I think 7:30 may have been Sonic again, or may have been Reboot, or something. I can't really remember. But I would go from that to Aladdin, and I would watch it. And I really enjoyed the show. I really got an appreciation and a respect for that show. And this is why, like anybody listening, this is why I hope and pray Disney, even if it's a Disney Movie Club exclusive, brings out the Aladdin series to DVD in the future. Because fans, I guarantee you, they will buy that show. They will put the money down and buy that show. True, you can get the show off iOffer and eBay, mostly iOffer, through people that would already have all the episodes taped and converted to DVD. I've done that with Mighty Ducks and a few others. But the point is, this is one of those shows that definitely deserves to have a DVD release. It really does, folks. So that's just my personal take on the Aladdin series 20 years later. Let me know what yours is down below. Comment if you like. And that's all I'm going to say. And I am out. I'm going to have to get ready for work now. On just in a moment.